Hey, what's up, everyone? It's me, Matt from Diazable, and I'm coming at you with a new album review. And I'm pretty excited and other emotions about this review because it's from one of my favorite singers of all time in the metalcore scene and everything, Keith Holuk from the band Ligeia. And one of my personal projects he ever did was Face All Fears, great little band if you ever heard of them. But with his new band, HYEENA, and their debut album, Freedom from the Default. And a little bit about them is that they are a metalcore band out of Massachusetts, or somewhere out in Massachusetts. I blanked on there. And yeah, and apparently a little bit of their history. They were looking for Keith was looking for band members on Craigslist and got connected with some people, and they put out an EP a couple of years ago, and then they just dropped their debut LP. And I learned that Keith did all the mixing and mastering as a learning project for this for himself, and which kind of makes more sense after having listened and reviewed the album. I think I see what he was trying to do and what he needs to do in terms of learning, and not trying to tell him what he should do and stuff, but I can see how this is his first time doing this. It makes a lot more sense. And with that being said, let's get into this review from Hyena from the default. First thing I noticed was like it was like a weird, wonky opening, and Keith sounds crazy washed out. I was really surprised by that. It's less punk, more metal. All the instruments are turned down so like Keith can really fly. Like his vocals are really prominent here. It's chuggy and bass. It's a chuggy and bass focused song. Drums are good, but nothing too special. It's very soft metalcore, if you want to say. Chorus is fun to listen to, and their breakdown reminds me of like a little bit of Every Time I Die in terms of like a Southern style breakdown and everything. But yeah, so interesting track to open up with. Hey guys, next we have Got the Motto, and the first thing that really caught my attention was the catchy bass line at the beginning of the song. And then I noticed that we got more of those washed out vocals from Keith. Um, they pulled them more to the front. His vocals on this song with his growls and everything. Drums sound very punchy and impactful here. And I noticed that the chorus seems more catchier this time around than the previous song, which personally I like that. I like catchy choruses. Riffs are very solid here. Breakdown is let's say they really bring it with the breakdown. It's pretty good here. Like I was thoroughly impressed with this song. Then we're gonna find ourselves in the song Oasis. Has a more of a heavy tuning on this track. It just sounds heavier. Digging more of the metalcore sound on here. Pretty good. Even though like I was expecting more punk with their previous EP and stuff. But as I'm listening to this album more and more, I think I've started to realize that maybe they won't really do that punk sound as much. Keith sounds less more harsh here and more candid here. They really let the bass breathe on this song. It sounds so good. Uh, and then kind of like what was it midway through the song they pick it up and go a lot faster. And then that breakdown, it's a very chuggy, very nasty breakdown, and it just goes like slower and slower and slower. Like I was not expecting this heaviness from this band with this song or just in general. So here's a little clip of Oasis from Hyena. Yeah, Oasis. Then we get into the song "Bringing on the Storm," and the first thing I noticed was the guitars are very screechy and the bass is very thick. They let the instruments really fly here. Then they're just getting like heavier with each track. With that previous song Oasis and this, I was very surprised that they went even heavier. It reminds me of like the late 2000s favorite record music, like the bands on that label back in the day, which doesn't surprise me with Keith being on that label and everything. His clean vocals sound really good here, but he might sound a lot better if he was not so washed out. that washed out effect. I'm not feeling it too much. At least on this song. The song arrangement is good, but the vocal performance is a bit of a mess. Breakdown is clean as fuck. It's a great song overall, but I think the vocals kind of mess with the song a little bit. Their next song, which I think was also a single of theirs, called Cold Reality. More washed out vocals again. Sounds good on here. The riffs and the bass drums, they sound okay for the mix. For the mixing they were doing, anything kind of like, yeah, nothing too amazing, I want to say. There were some awkward transitions between like parts of the song. And that kind of threw me off a little bit. And I'm not still too keen on this vocal performance and vocal style that they're going with. Lots of experimentation, clearly, I think. Track 6, we have Chornbog, and what I noticed was the vocal performances. I want to say that they sound like a fishbowl to me, like he's singing in a fishbowl. And yeah, that's what I'm calling it now, the fishbowl vocals. Guitars sound a little muddled here, but in a cool way. And as I listen to the song more, the vocals, they've grown on me a bit. They sound good here. Like the use of the fishbowl dynamic sounds pretty good. The ending of the song reminds me of Siler, but towards the end of the song, it kind of gets a little cheesy and kind of throws me off from like enjoying the song, I think, and overall feel of the song. So I want to play a little clip of this song for you. Fishbowl. We have the song Let It Fade. Sounds like it's a continuation of the last song in terms of production and sound. Had to double check because I thought it was the same song, but I was like, oh no, they're different. The riffs sound just like the last song, and it sounds like a lot of reuse. They're reusing a lot of the previous stuff on the last song on this track again. It just sounds very, very similar. It sounds a bit lazy to me, but his vocal performance sound a lot better here. Like he actually is putting a lot of emotions and feelings behind the track. The structure or like the instrument kind of sound whatever, but his vocals are really good here. Song, there's Heaven. Hollow sounding guitar riffs, and this one's a bit rough around the edges in terms of the production of the song. His vocals are turned up too high for the vibe of the song, I think. Drums surprisingly sound perfect here. And that breakdown, like, what the fuck is that? Like, it reminded me of like new metal, like out of the blue. It's like, oh, they're going new metal. But yeah, best way I could say, it's a very whimsical sounding song. The other single that they put out called The Scenario, as the album goes along, I feel like they're just turning up those fishbowl vocals more and more. He just keeps getting louder. This sounds like a very generic rock sound to it. Fun like guitar strumming here and there. The breakdown's pretty nasty, but I would say sonically the songs, it just doesn't stand up to other songs. It's kind of a weaker song out of the whole batch of songs they've had. And as the songs keep going along, the vocals just keep getting weirder to me. What we have here is Late Night Subtitles. It has a very, very heavy and ominous feel to it. Very surprised by that. Like sounds really interesting than the last track, and I think there's like some like double kicks and everything. And overall, it's like a very okay song. And so the last song we have here is called Chameleon, and to me, it sounds like a very large and ambitious sounding song. Sounds like if you could put like a nightmare into like a song, like it's very chaotic, very crazy. Guitars are very full and sound very boomy here. The fishbowl vocals sound really great here, surprisingly. And simple breakdown, great song to close out the album, I think. Good choice. That was my thoughts and views on this album from HYEENA. And like personally, I love Keith. I love all the work he's done and everything. This, I think that the title of this album really sums up Freedom from the Default. Like what he's his default vocal and stuff that he's put out before. I think he's trying to get away from that in some way, and which, you know, kudos to experimenting and everything. And it's funny that it's called Freedom from the Default, Like their previous stuff was more punk and more interesting, I thought. And then this one was just like a back to basic forms of metalcore. And I was like, oh, he's just going back to what he used to do and everything. And like it was just overall, I think there's more misses than hits on this album. And I think after reading that he was working on the mastering and mixing on himself to learn, I think that makes more sense of why I felt like it was just the production's very wild in terms of how it sounds good sometimes, how it sounds bad, weird fishbowl effects, the mixing being turned up really weird or really low. So I think he's still learning to do that, and so I think that caused a little bit of harm for this album. And also the writing, like I don't know where the punk elements were, or I guess they just weren't feeling that anymore with that old EP Glory, and just wanted to go back to something that they're used to, or just tinker with something they wanted to go back to. But yeah, overall, uh, objectively, I say it wasn't that great of an album, but I think with his experimentation, they can do further and better things in the future. I think he just got to get it like tighten up his stuff because it just was a little bit all over the place. But I would say the one thing I really liked about this album was the bass. The bass playing on here was really, really good. Thoroughly heard, sounds really good, very mixed well and everything. And yeah, so with that being said, I would say this album from HYEENA, their debut LP, Freedom from the Default, is a nice, solid 6 out of 10. Yeah, so thanks for coming by. If anyone's seeing this, appreciate you seeing this. Let me know how I did. Tell me your thoughts, feelings, links down below. Check out this band HYEENA. And until next time, I will see you guys later.